Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Take on Tottenham. My name is Ben. This is my take on Tottenham. Welcome back, first of all, before we get into the rant of the century. Welcome back. It is very good to be back. I can't remember. I think the last game I actually spoke on was the Leicester result, I think, which was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Might have been 2 or 3 weeks. If you've missed it, I put up a little YouTube short in the week. Oh no, sorry, at the weekend. Just explaining where I've been. So if you've missed it, I'll just give you a little catch up. So the week before last, I caught COVID, which was very unpleasant. It was the first time I'd actually caught it, and yeah, it was really not nice. Without going into loads of detail, I just was not really in the state to do a video. My throat in particular felt like I'd been swallowing glass with like alcohol, like rubbing alcohol and stuff like that. It was probably for me the two worst things that I had were a temperature which was so up and down for so long, and my throat. They were just the worst bits. I actually lost about 8 pounds in weight as well, which was quite weird. I had no appetite or anything like that, and yeah, it just was very, very unpleasant, and I really didn't enjoy it. As you can imagine, I wasn't really feeling up to doing videos, and to be honest, I couldn't even do a YouTube short because I just had no voice. I couldn't talk. I honestly I couldn't talk, and if I did, it would just start everything off. So I couldn't even do a YouTube short, sort of going, I'm not going to be doing any videos for a little bit. So yeah, I'm fairly back to normal now. There's still after effects, as I've heard there is, and stuff with other people I know that have had it. So apologies if I cough at all during this video. I've still got this tickle in my cough that sort of sits about here, and yeah, it's just very annoying because I've been negative now since last weekend, I think it was, and I've still got this after effect. So apologies if I do start coughing. I'm not choking or anything, unlike Spurs tonight. Anyway, so yeah, just a little bit of housekeeping on where I've been in case you didn't see the video in the weekend. Sorry, and yeah, hopefully that's to the side. And do you know what? Just before we get into the match review, I'm annoyed. I'm really annoyed because I actually went nearly 2 years without catching it. As I said, it was my first time catching it, and yeah, I'm just annoyed more than anything. So I thought I'd done everything to avoid it, and then just got me. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, should we get into the match? Let's talk about what we're all actually here for. To see me rant about my team, because I'm going to. This is probably going to be about a 20-minute rant. I'm so fed up. Full-time result: Man United 2, Tottenham 0. I actually feel like the result was probably not done service for Man U. I thought Man U were excellent during the game. Let's just go through the notes because that's how we roll. So obviously Richarlison now out, injured. Hopefully it's nothing too bad. It's about 2.5 weeks they reckon, but missed today's game 100%. So no Richarlison, no Kulusevski. So we definitely were playing 3-5-2 today. And it didn't really work. Basuma came in, obviously, and a system that has generally been praised. You know, it was quite a game changing moment in the Brighton match. And by the way, even though I couldn't do the video, absolutely trust me, I was watching all the games and stuff, and sort of not taking notes, but I was still watching. So I'm gutted. I'm really gutted about tonight because, like I said, the 3-5-2 looked really good against Brighton, but I feel like Spurs were exposed today. I feel like Spurs didn't really have a plan B, and they didn't. They had no no way of changing it. We'll go into that later. I actually felt like Spurs started off quite well. Whilst they didn't play well at all, like as a whole, I felt like they started quite positive. They Bentancur had a chance really early on that he kind of scooped around the post and that went wide. And then it they had some good possession in the first sort of 20 minutes, and that's probably where my positives end. I felt like they were controlling the ball quite well in that first 20 minutes. They were passing it around very nicely. They just were not doing anything with it for all their possession that they had in that first 20. They just weren't doing anything at all. Lloris fluffed a save that kind of led to a corner. It was a bit of a defensive mix-up, and he ended up having to palm it around the post somehow when it looked really simple catch. And then made a great save from Fred to kind of almost atone for that error. Anthony then hit the post as well. Man U was starting to really cramp the pressure on at this point. Doherty then actually had a chance against a run of play where he, kind of similar to the Bentancur chance actually, where he kind of scooped it around the post. Probably should have passed it, to be honest. Lloris, great save against Rashford. There's going to be a pattern here. You're going to be noticing I keep saying Lloris, great save, Rashford. It's because the way it's going to go. It was poor from Dyer as well. That chance enabled. He just looked really like he switched off, and Rashford got in and made a really good shot, and Lloris got down quite low, quite fast, and managed to save it and tip it around the post. It was a really brilliant save. Fernandes, the Man U got a free kick. Fernandes had a shot. It was tipped over by Lloris. Great save. I think Luke Shaw then had a volley after that. Great save. And we're just sitting back. We were just inviting the pressure, and Spurs under Conte are known for doing that, and that's fine when they counter, but they didn't even counter tonight. And again, we'll get into that later, but they were just sitting back so much and just inviting Man U on with no threats, no counter threat or anything. Kane had a small chance that was saved, but that was about it for the first half. Came out of the second half, and it was just kind of the beginning of the end, really. Spurs kind of carried on with a nonchalant type attitude. Got the Man U came out and scored within the first minute of the second half. Bit unfortunate for Ben Davies. Fred got the goal, took a deflection off his leg, left Lloris rooted to the spot, and the ball went in the corner. Lloris made a great save against Rashford again. Kane went close, sort of in the small reaction that we actually had to the goal. Kane went close. It was a deflection that sort of took it past the post. And then goal for Man United. Fernandes scored, and it was just poor defending again. It was just sloppy. It's a good tidy finish from Fernandes, but it was poor. I think Romero kind of slid tackle. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Rashford. Ball looped up. Fred tried to do something. It bounced off Dyer and came to Fernandes, who just tucked it really nice into the far right corner. And then that was kind of it. I mean, Man U, not to do a disservice there for Man U, they dominated Spurs today, and like my biggest problem with the Spurs performance today, there was no threat. No chances, no urgency. De Gea wasn't really tested much today. Probably one of his easiest days this season. Just nothing, and nothing from the big players as well. Sonny, Kane, Bentancur, Højbjerg. You're looking at your big players, and look, I absolutely know, and I think it's really obvious. The Spurs are really missing Kulusevski. I think they really are. I think he, for me, adds so much versatility when we're with our front three. And just to our team in general, because he can play wing back. He has done that a couple of times under Conte. And while it's not preferred, you obviously want him in his preferred position. I really feel like they are missing that. The 3-5-2 today didn't work. It was found out very quickly. And to be honest, this is what I was worried about when Richarlison got injured, because they haven't got that extra person now. They haven't got that extra attacker. So they're kind of, at the minute, we are left with Kane and Son. The argument could be made for Bryan Hill, absolutely, and I think he should be given a chance at least, but Conte doesn't feel that way. But for me, as soon as Richarlison was injured, if I was Erik ten Hag, I would have been looking at that going, right, Richarlison's injured, they've got Kane and Son, they're going to be doing the 3-5-2. We will do everything on Wednesday night to prevent that 3-5-2 from working, and that is exactly what they did. Anthony and Varane kept Kane and Son very quiet for pretty much most of the night. Spurs weren't able to transition like they would have liked to. They had the counter attacks, the few that I could count on one hand, but again, Spurs, for the ones that they did manage to get, they didn't really do anything with them. Sonny was sloppy. Kane, first half was okay. Passing was very sharp and whatnot, but Spurs didn't do anything really. Perisic, Doherty, how many times does it have to be said? Spurs flourish. They flourish when the wing backs are doing their job, and I prefer Doherty over Emerson Royale, absolutely 110%. But tonight wasn't a great night for Doherty. He got forward probably more than Royale would have. And I think he just should start over Royale. Perisic, however, I felt had a bit of a poor night. He tried to get forward at times, but again struggled. I would have really preferred to have seen a Sessegnon tonight over Perisic. I think Sessegnon adds a lot more going forward for us than Perisic, and that's no disservice. I think Perisic has been involved in some really key attacking manoeuvres for us this season, and he brings an extra spark. But I really felt like Sessegnon would have suited tonight's game. He would have added a bit more width. And we've seen it before because of Sessegnon's pace, he can get forward faster and forward more. And we've seen it in terms of the wing backs working with Sessegnon and Doherty, where because Sessegnon can take the ball further with his pace, and he's got a really good cross on his left foot, it can open Doherty up to fly up the field and get in behind the defence. They're focused on Kane and Son. It leaves Doherty with a bit of space. So I felt Sessegnon would have been a better shout, but look, I'm not manager. I'm not telling Conte how to do his job. It's just my opinion. But yeah, those wing backs didn't really have a great time tonight. And again, it's very prevalent. If the wing backs struggle, the whole team struggles. That's how it has been under Conte. But yeah, I do. Back to the original point, I feel like they are missing Kulusevski. He like I said earlier, he has so much versatility. The ball kind of stays glued to his feet. He can whip a good crossing on his right. He can shoot, as we know, really well on his left. And I think we are really missing him. If I don't know if I personally feel like he's underrated. I feel like some people aren't really talking about it as much. I really do feel like it's a big problem at the minute. They really need him back. They really do. Yeah. And Kane as well. Again, he's got more options to, he tried a few passes to Sonny. He tried passing out to Doherty as well. It just wasn't working really for Kane tonight in terms of that. He dropped deep and tried to do that. But that's where Kulusevski would come in. Or even Richarlison, just having that extra attacker. Felt Spurs would have been better suited with a front three today. They were just poor. They were so poor. And I don't, again, like I said, any Man United fans watching, please do not misinterpret this as a disservice towards your team. I thought Man U were excellent tonight. I thought they were attacking. I thought they looked really promising. I thought they looked very threatening. And they fully deserved the win. They dominated Spurs tonight. They exposed them, I think. Like I said earlier, I think they exposed the 3-5-2. I think they made Spurs look very poor. And that, again, I have to say, well, Man U were excellent. Spurs were so poor. And it's a shame because Lloris had a really good game, made some really important saves and kept that score down to 2-0. Without Lloris, that could have been 4-5-0 tonight. But Man U, I think they have 19 shots in the first half. 19 shots. Spurs didn't even test De Gea in the second half. It was the Kane chance, it was offside, but yeah, it was really, really poor. And the subs as well. Again, I'm just a small YouTuber questioning Antonio Conte, who's won so many things, but I think the subs were poor, and shall I say the lack thereof. Really, making Spurs should have changed it up at 1-0. They should have given it. I personally on FIFA, or manager, whatever. I would have given it till 60 minutes in, and if they were still 1-0 struggling to get in the game, you change the formation. Like I said, you send Sessegnon on, and change the formation, and send Brian Hill on, and stick it to a front three, and just change something to get that going, because the 3-5-2 was not working. It really, really wasn't. Excuse me, it's begun. The coughing has begun. I'm surprised it's taken this long. The tickle is back. I'm going to try and work through it. I'm going to be professional. We're going to try and work through the tickle in the throat. Yeah, change the formation up. Change it up. I think to sit on that 3-5-2, I think, what was it, until 82 minutes, 88 minutes? Not 88, it felt like 88. 10 minutes left in the game. To sit on that formation that was not working with the same team that wasn't working. Brian Hill is a bit of an anomaly. I feel like he's got the promise, but he's just not getting the chances, and it's really frustrating. And we've seen this with Jed Spence as well, who got one of his rare cameos tonight as well. Brian Hill didn't even come on, and that was a shame. So again, Spurs just needed that spark in attack. And what I found personally annoying was 2-0, right? 2-0. You get a goal. Even with 10 minutes left, you get a goal. It changes the game. Now, I'm not saying it guaranteed to. Man U had their chances. I think Bruno Fernandes had a goal that was ruled out for offside really late on. But you get that goal. The crowd starts getting nervous. You throw a little bit of doubt in the equation, and you never know what happens. And God knows I've seen it as a Spurs fan. I've seen it plenty of times. But you get that goal, and it just throws the uncertainty into the equation. Spurs never did that. They never threatened. They never even looked like they were even close to doing anything like that. And that, for me, is such a frustrating thing. I've always said, when you're chasing the game, you've at least towards the end of the game, usually by one goal, you have to be peppering the other team. You have to be thrown in the kitchen sink and making sure that team has to hang on to get the win, to get the points. They have to be hanging on. You have to make them work for it. Man U, for as excellent as they were tonight, they didn't really have to really work that great for it, and they did. They did work brilliantly. They, again, like I said, they outran, outplayed Spurs completely. But in hindsight, they probably didn't have to, because Spurs didn't show up anyway, and that's my frustration. I will, and you guys know, if you've watched me for the last 2 years, you will know that I've always said I will never be mad at a defeat, or drop points or anything like that, as long as I've seen that they've given it their all on the pitch. And I use that term most for derby matches, for North London derbies in particular, or matches against West Ham or Chelsea. Excuse me. And the out of breath stuff comes back as well. I hate it. I hate this, man. It sucks. So yeah. But I've always said that. I always, even if they've lost, as long as I can see that they've given 110%. And Spurs did that last season at Old Trafford. That game that they lost 3-2, a few poor bits of marking, and not giving Ronaldo what was essentially a free header to win the game. They lost that game 3-2, but I wasn't sad. I was gutted, but I wasn't mad or anything about it, because I knew that we were the better team on that night. I felt like Spurs did deserve at least something out of that game. And Ronaldo, just being Ronaldo and whatnot, just won it. But Spurs didn't deserve anything tonight, and if they had got anything, it would have been a massive injustice. It really would have, because they didn't deserve anything. They were absolutely pitiful. But yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those. It just not even testing, not even throwing that uncertainty in the mix to even try and test the keeper in the last 10 minutes, and then you're getting the 4 subs come on. And again, it didn't change anything because it was so late. It didn't do anything. Lucas is struggling. He's trying to get back to it, and he's struggling. Jed Spence is getting a few minutes at a time, so he's not really going to be able to change a game in that time. Who else came on? Davinson Sanchez came on for Dyer, who had a poor game. I can't remember the fourth. Was it Skip for Bissouma? Again, Oliver Skip, I absolutely love him, but he's not had the game time to come in and change that game and whatnot. So the subs, and then like I said, again, I absolutely understand. We have injuries. You can't bring a Richarlison on, you can't bring a Kulusevski on, or even as I've said in earlier videos in the season, having Richarlison and Kulusevski and Kane starting and then bringing Sonny on with 10, 15, 20 minutes to spare, which I think would be a really great thing to do against a team, because I wouldn't want to face Sonny after playing 75 minutes of a match and then seeing a fully fit, fast Sonny coming at me. So it's one of those. It's all hindsight. You can blame it on injuries that we haven't got the depth on the bench all of a sudden. But look, that team is good enough to have got something out of the game tonight. And the fact of the matter is, they didn't show up. They didn't show up. Every single one of them, apart from Lloris excluded. Lloris was brilliant tonight and didn't deserve to concede the 2 goals that he did, because he pulled off some incredible saves, but he was let down by the team in front of him, quite frankly. And yeah, it was just poor across the board, and they need to respond. It's going to be a difficult match on Sunday at Newcastle, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But Newcastle looking very good. Newcastle have been sort of somewhat of a bogey team in recent years. Not saying all the time, but sometimes they can come and make life very difficult. They get a goal, and then it's hard to break them down. So, and they're looking very good under Eddie Howe currently. So it will be a difficult game, and Spurs will have to show up for that. They have to show up, and I think they have to do something different. I think you have to do something different. I think that 3-5-2. Right now, if I was Eddie Howe, I'd be like, okay, bring it on, sort of thing, because Spurs look really bereft of ideas tonight, and that was quite worrying. It's not looking good either. For how good they are doing in the league, and they're still third. You 2 quote unquote big teams, Man U and Arsenal, they've both lost those games, and both games they've looked really clueless. To be honest, clueless. So that needs fixing. They got the point against Chelsea. But again, let's be honest, that game against Chelsea were dominant in that game, and as much as I credit Spurs for hanging in there and stuff, Chelsea would have been kicking themselves not to take 3 points from that game. The Spurs have struggled against the bigger teams this season, and 1 point out of a possible 9 isn't great, so that needs to improve as well. But that's it. I'm really gutted I have to come back after my COVID break and talking about and ranting about a loss. I was really hoping I'd be able to come on, do a really quick video, save my voice, and all that. But here we are. I'm ranting like usual. So if you have liked what you've seen, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much if anyone stuck around. I'm apologies again about the break, but also not apologies. I couldn't really talk. We will be back in action on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. And then after that, I think we are in action in the Champions League against Sporting Lisbon, in a very important game as well. So pretty much doing 2 videos a week at this point. And then I don't really know what to do for the Qatar World Cup. I'm going to have to think about that. I really don't know what to do, because that's never happened. I don't really know what to do. We'll keep an eye on it, I guess. So, let me know what your thoughts are of the game. How disappointed were you? This is probably the best question to ask. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, all that stuff, you know what to do. And I'll see you guys on Sunday afternoon. And as always, come on you Spurs.